In this video, folks, I'm gonna teach you guys how to gambit against d4 from the move d4 with black. I'm gonna also teach you how to mate easily with black with this gambit. And not only that, can have a lot of traps that can devour white so quickly. And so this opening is called the Budapest Gambit. This opening starts with d4, the second most popular opening in all of the lines of chess. We're gonna go knight to c6, trying to develop our knight normally in the board. Pawn to c4 over here, which is the most popular response after knight to f6. We're gonna go with pawn to e5, gambiting another pawn. This is an aggressive way to attack d4 after pawn to c4. And so if they do take our pawn, they can see that it is a free pawn. We will go knight to g4, which attacks the pawn another time on e5. And not only that, attacks the pawn on f2, which is important because that is where we will be sacrificing the knight later. If they go first, knight to f3, develop the knight, and also trying to defend this pawn on e5 because we attacked it earlier with the knight going to g4. And so, folks, what are we gonna respond here is going to go pawn to e6, gambiting any other pawn. And so if they take another pawn, we're gonna go bishop to d6, and we're gonna have this very good diagonal attacking the pawn on h2. And so they will be very annoyed by this knight. Not only that, they can see the pressure of this. They might go h3, which is a very natural move for them to go to. But there is a mistake there. They disregard the fact that we can just take the pawn on f2. Why? Because if we take the pawn on f2, if they take back, we will go bishop to g3. That's a check to the king on f2. And so if they take back again, well then, folks, this is just a free queen because the king just undefended it from all our gambits of a knight and a bishop. Of course, there's a lot of lines and other bridges that is going on with this opening. So let's go to the first bridge. What if they go pawn to d5 instead of taking the free pawn? They might be smart at this point and know what they're doing, but no, because there's another trap. Because after bishop to c5, attacking the pawn yet again, they might go bishop to g5, trying to pin our knight from our queen on d8. That is nothing, folks, because there is another trap. We will go knight to e4. As you may notice, we are blundering the queen, but we're making that sacrifice for a reason. Because if they do take their queen on d8, well then, folks, it's actually made it one. That's how easy it is for white to go into a trap on this line. Not only that, a lot of people might go here to prevent the knight from going here to go here, because a lot of them know that the Budapest Gambit almost always goes knight to g4 to attack this pawn. Well then, folks, if they go here, well then, we'll just take the pawn yet again on f2, checking the king, sacrificing the bishop. They will take the bishop, and most likely, we will win because of the fact that we are gonna go knight to e4. If they go back king to e1, that's mate in 2, because after queen to h4, check, they can block with the pawn, but it's now mate. And so, they have to go carefully about this. So, instead of going back with king here, directing to their death over here with the square on e1, instead they might go king to f3. If they go there, we will just go again to queen to h4. If they go pawn to g3, we take this. Because if they do take our free knight, well then, folks, we will sacrifice yet again. Why are we doing this? Because there's only one square for the king to go to each time we move the piece in these lines. And so, folks, when we continue doing this, we're gonna go pawn to d6. And that is a discovered check to the king with the bishop on c8. And so, if they go back bishop to e4, this is checkmate with bishop to f5. And so, as you can see, the king cannot go here, 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 here because of the fact that queen and the bishop and the pawns are literally covering every square and checking the king. There are more lines after they take the pawn. And we will go again for the knight g4 move. f4 instead of knight here trying to defend the pawn. Instead of trying to defend the pawn with a knight, they defend the pawn with another pawn. That is a mistake to go and defend the pawn with another pawn because actually, they're falling behind in development and they're just pushing pawns for no reason 3 times, and we have developed 2 pieces already to attack the king and ready to harass it or maybe even checkmate it early in the board. And so they might be confused here on what's happening. And so they might try to defend the pawn another time or try to defend the square on f2 because of the threats are so many. We can even take this pawn back. We'll not take the pawn on e3 because there's a much bigger threat, which is d6. If they do take our pawn on d6, well then, folks, we will take back. If they go queen to f3, trying to protect this pawn from being captured on e3, finally trying to protect it, well then, folks, we will go castle peacefully. And so they will be annoyed by this knight yet again. And so we will go for the move. We take that pawn anyways. Because if they do take back with the bishop this time on e3, well then folks, we will take back with our bishop on e3. They will take back with the queen. And so there's a trap because rook to e8 in this line wins the queen. What if the other stuff haven't? Not f4, but e4. That's nothing because we're gonna go pawn to d6. And so if they take the pawn on d6, we will develop our bishop, which is another piece. And now they're falling behind in development again. A lot of people, again, might go h3. We cannot go for the move knight takes f2 because of the fact that if they take again, because of the fact if we check again, they can just go away from the bishop's check. And so they can also protect the queen. What we're gonna do here is queen to h4. Trying to go here and attack the pawn on f2. Trying to checkmate the king on e1. There are a lot of lines here. First, let's see if they take the knight. Well then folks, we are gonna go and take the rook. What if they don't do that? Instead, bishop to e3. Well then folks, we will just go and take the bishop on e3 because the pawn is being pinned to the king on e1. But folks, what else happens? But folks, what if g3? Blocking the attack from the pawn on f2. Well then folks, we will just take it to the bishop on g3. And so if they go and take it back with the pawn on g3, well then folks, they are doomed because this is check. And you cannot do anything about the knight fork on f2, which forces the queen and the rook. And so folks, what if queen to f3 seems the most solid move? Well then folks, we'll just take the pawn on f2. And so if they take back with the queen, we get the amazing move, bishop to g3, pinning the queen to the king. The queen is forcefully going to take the bishop, and so we will take back. That's check also, so they might have to move the king to somewhere else, which also makes them not have the ability to castle. After this very good attack, let's go back to the other line. So folks, what if not e4 happens, but instead queen to d4 is another line of this game. And so we will go pawn to d6, and somehow this knight over here is also defended. Not only that, it's double purpose because we're gambiting another pawn on d6, and as you can see, if they take back, they are falling behind in development yet again. But we're not gonna take with the bishop this time. We're gonna go knight to c6, attacking the queen first, having tempo. They cannot take the knight yet again because of the fact that I already said this is defended. And so if they go queen to e4, check, that's nothing. Because we will just go bishop to e6, maintaining this, blocking this check, and so they can go to is to take another pawn because they notice that they have so much pawns that why don't they just take another pawn? Well then folks, here is the problem. We will go and take the pawn on c7. And so what will happen is that first of all, look at your development. You have one queen in the center of the board. We have three pieces that have just developed. And so they will go bishop to f4, stacking that queen. Thinking that they have developed and try to win back the tempo, we'll just go queen to b6. The best move here, according to white, is d2. And so they have already fallen for the trap, which they haven't noticed. And so we will just take the pawn and f2 check. And so if they go with the king, they have nothing else to do here. We have reached in with the queen. We have so much development. Their king not being castled. While us winning plus 1 pawn, but they got plus 1 pawn. What are they gonna do? Nothing. Because according to the computer, we have plus 4 advantage, having the more development, plus having the queen already breached into the king that is going to devour next in a couple of moves later. So what if the last line that I'm gonna show you comes into mind, that I'm gonna show you right now in this video, bishop to f4, defending it in another way. Well then folks, we will go knight to c6, developing another piece, attacking the pawn on e5 twice. And so they will defend it yet again. We will just go pawn to f6 to solve all of that up, because if they take with the pawn on f6, we will take with the queen, and that is trying to attack the bishop and the knight. And the white side is having so much pressure right now that if they go anywhere, we'll just go and sacrifice our knight on f2, because of the fact that if they take back, we will go and take their bishop on f2, and they have noticed that they already have been pinned by the bishop on c5. Not only that, a lot of opponents will go knight to d5, attacking this fork right here with the king being forked and the rook. We have the move queen to h6, and so they might go in for the fork, but actually this is not just a fork, because after we go king to d8, if they too take our free rook, because after queen to f3, over here, checking the king on f2, if they go king to g3, we will go queen to f2, checking the king yet again, and if they go king to h3, being cornered into the board, we're gonna go pawn to d6, this very sneaky move, which is a check to the king on h3. Not only that, if they cover up with a pawn on g4, we are gonna go for the counter move, pawn to h5, attacking this pawn on g4. What are they gonna do now? Doesn't matter what white does, because of the fact that pawn takes g4 is mate. And so folks, those are all the lines that I have already showed you in this Budapest Gambit. I have covered, I think, all of the lines I have encountered with this Gambit. And so, see you guys in the next video. Please subscribe and like to motivate me more in videos like this. And of course, don't forget to like if you learned something in this Gambit. This Gambit is so very, very aggressive. A lot of traps, and it is very popular in the chess world today. And if you are interested in the counter Gambit of this Budapest Gambit, please go there and comment down below if you want to. See you guys in the next video. Peace out. Yeah, peace out.